That clip just scratches the surface, but probably at its time, as visionary as Fritz Lang's Metropolis, we're going to take 5 now with a living legend, one of my personal heroes. He's done more for Hollywood than anybody I can think of. His work is collected on a DVD out in January. I will be there at midnight for the opening of that. Ray Harryhausen, the Early Years Collection, and his new book, An Animated Life, visual effects icon, Ray Harryhausen. Ladies and gentlemen, good to meet you. Thank you. Well, first up, Ray, I have to thank you. As a child, the movies that I would go see that had your handprints all over them were the joys of my young life. Nobody entertained me more as a young man than you. You were my Steven Spielberg, so it's an honor to meet you, sir.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Now, I want to ask you, it amazes me that you and another visionary, Mr. Bradbury,
Yes.
Ray Bradbury, you met when you were how old?
Well, I think it was just after we got out of high school.
You're 19 years old.
Yes, and that was many years ago. I daren't count.
Now, immediately, did you know you had met a kindred spirit, somebody who...
I did when we had meetings at the Clifton Cafeteria in the Little Brown Room. He loved dinosaurs as much as I did. As you know, I started out, I saw King Kong when I was 13, and I haven't been the same since.
Big dent, huh?
That gorilla is responsible for me meeting more people. Ray Bradbury loved the film as much as I did, Forey Ackerman. And the minute I went in the Brown Room to meet Ray Bradbury for the first time, we had a kindred spirit about dinosaurs. Very few people had an interest as much as we did.
Yeah. Now, your work has spanned, I guess one of the important guys that you worked with was Mr. Powell, right? George Powell?
George Powell was my first professional role, yes.
What films did you work with
I worked on the first 12 before the war. That goes back a long time. I wasn't too happy with the technique that he had figures that were already pre-animated, and you simply substituted one. He had 25 separate figures for one step. But Willis O'Brien influenced me the most in King Kong.
Say his name again. He
Willis
was the man who did
O'Brien.
Willis O'Brien.
Yes, he was responsible for the animation in King Kong.
And what was O'Brien in your theory, that you have one figure that you move slightly?
That's correctly. It's much more creative on the set. Powell's system was pre-animated, a lot of it. And with O'Brien's system, you would do the broad movements on a paper, and then on the set, you could put all the little nuances.
Yes.
The blinking, the pounding on the ground, as Mighty Joe Young did.
Well, they say that God is in the details, and certainly when you're moving things by an angstrom to get the next frame, there was a lot of detail work there in your sort of claymation,
one frame at a time. There's 16 frames to the foot, so it's quite a long process.
And I guess your first time where you really stood out was The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms?
That was on my own, yes. I was with Obie after Mighty Joe Young, but unfortunately, the rumor got around that Mighty Joe Young cost so much, so people weren't interested. I took the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad around for days, and nobody was interested. Howard Hughes had just made The Son of Sinbad with Lil Sincere and her bosom pals.
Yeah, and those bosoms were pretty animated too, quite frankly. Talk about siliconation.
You could
instead
say
of
that. That was the first silicon display. But, you know, to me, the Arabian Nights were not something that sort of cops and robbers in baggy pants.
Yes.
I wanted to see the storybook values, the monsters. Every time they talked in Alibaba and the 40 Thieves with Maria Montez, they talked about these creatures, but you never saw them on the screen.
Yes.
And even in the Italian films about Hercules Unchained, they talked about these creatures. And if you did see a Cyclops, it was a Greek wrestler with an eye glued in the middle of forehead. And that, to me, wasn't entertainment.
And there's your amazing Cyclops. I can't tell you, when I was a little kid and he strobed out of that cave, it was like the way the raptors moved. It was everything that's done now almost seems like an homage to your work. Because when I would watch the raptors move in Spielberg's Jurassic Park, I said, that reminds me so much of Harryhausen's early work. And I have to tell you, as a young boy in Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, when that beast looks down and it actually bit a human being and picked him up and you could see his legs moving, for a kid, that was so frighteningly cathartic. I have to thank you for that. I always remember that image and go, my God, he ate him right there. That was a big moment.
They rather repeated that in one of the Jurassic Parks.
Yes,
they had
exactly.
a man in a restroom, I think, that was picked up.
Well, Mr. Harryhausen, what an amazing legacy. The magic you've created will last for centuries, and I can't tell you what a thrill it is to meet you, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful that our films have left a positive...
Oh, they have. Ray Harryhausen, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back.
Oh, I thought I had more time. Okay, yeah, I can make it. Bye.
Pay 10 bills in under 3 minutes online. Free with our free checking from Bank of America. Higher standards.
Finding good investments. Janice goes off the beaten path to hunt for healthy companies the market might have missed. Scopes out the big picture, drills into the details, checks for steady growth, taking a disciplined approach to look for solid ground. Janice picks stocks they think could go places by researching companies from the bottom up, aiming high to perform for Janice investors. Get there.
Listen to George Bush.
Government must take the side of working families.
But whose side has he been on? Tax cuts for the wealthy, billion-dollar giveaways to drug companies, helping corporations eliminate overtime pay, tax breaks for shipping jobs overseas.
Government must take the side of working families.
You've chosen sides, Mr. President, and it's not working families. The Democratic National Committee is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
The world's largest fully electronic stock exchange.
This is a classical design we did in Milan. Residence in 5 prestigious awards. So, what can I do for you?
Design a house around this.
Get a wireless laptop with technology designed for mobile performance. Make sure it has Intel Centrino mobile technology built in.
On an all-new Dennis Miller, Red Hot Chili Peppers' Anthony Kiedis comes clean on his new autobiography, Scar Tissue. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern, Dennis Miller's only on CNBC.
Someone woke up on the wrong side of the boardroom.
You've sort of been a disaster. Go ahead. Out.
The Apprentice, tonight, 11 Eastern on CNBC. Raw, real, honest.
You cannot be serious!
Oh, yes, we are. McEnroe on CNBC.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, dude. I'm gonna take